What is going on, everybody? How you doing today? Jim Games here, and in today's video, I'm going to be reacting to all things the Netherlands. Now, I'm a basic, everyday, average American guy. I've got an average education, average job, average income, just all around average, I guess. And what I like to do is I like to react to this channel called Geography Now. They give you a ton of information about a certain area in a very short, engaging, and fun time. I'm hoping to learn more about the people of the Netherlands, the food of the Netherlands, maybe the music, some of the economies, some of the major exports, and landscapes. So hopefully we'll get to that today. If you're new around here, please consider liking and subscribing because I do this sort of thing all the time, and I'd love to have you here with me for my little journey. All right, guys, let's switch screens and let's get right on into it. So yeah, I can't say enough positive things about the YouTube channel Geography Now. These guys put out some fantastic content. I'm going to be sure to link them down below because I think they're doing the Lord's work over there, honestly. All right, so without further ado, let's do it. Let's learn about the Netherlands. Here we go.
Hey guys, so this is gonna be a little awkward. Why? Because 2 years ago, my Dutch friend Vincent, who used to do the animations before I regrettably hired Ken.
Wait, what?
He came and visited here in LA. Long story short, I promised him he could be in the Netherlands episode, so we pre-shot some footage, and this was the intro we made. I flew over. This guy, a real Dutchman, say hi to Vincent. Right here. Hey, Vincent. Hey, look. Vincent, I know the Dutch are tall, but just step down from the box, okay? Just step down.
You get off of your box then.
Ah!
I can never top those days. Oh, and this episode is on the Netherlands.
It's time to learn geography.
Now! Everybody, I'm your host, Barbs. Now, there are many countries that deal with water issues. Some lack water, some have too much water, and some, like the Netherlands, have bridled the wild stallion and have learned how to control the water and use it to their advantage. Water is probably the most powerful element in the Netherlands, and without it, they would be, I don't know, pretty useless. So what do you say, 2016 Vincent?
En dan nu, politieke geografie.
So, yeah, stop calling this place Holland. That's just one part of the country, even though their country's national tourism website is called Holland.com. You're not helping us here, Dutchies. Oh, and hey, there's a town called The Hulk. First of all, the country is located in northwestern Europe along the North Sea, bordered by Germany and Belgium. The country is divided into 12 provinces. Here's 2016 Vincent naming all of them for you.
They are Limburg, Noord-Holland, Zeeland, Zuid-Holland, Utrecht, Gelderland, Overijssel, Drenthe, Groningen, Friesland, North-Holland, and the newest province, Flevoland. Almost all of Flevoland was reclaimed from the Zuiderzee in the 1950s. So besides being famous for making cheese and clogs, we also make our own land.
The country kind of has two capitals. Amsterdam, the largest city and economic hub of the country, and home to the Royal Palace. And just to skip over, the third largest city, The Hague, acts as the second capital, which holds the seat of government, as well as the International Court of Justice. The second largest city, though, would be Rotterdam, which holds the busiest seaport in all of Europe. The busiest airport, though, is of course Amsterdam's Schiphol International, Europe's third busiest airport, carrying nearly 70 million passengers annually. Now we reach the overseas territories. Apart from the mainland European part, the country actually holds sovereignty over 6 other island entities in the Caribbean, remnants of the colonial past. These are collectively called the Dutch Caribbean. And here's where it gets a little confusing. Technically, the Netherlands is a country made up of 4 countries, the mainland Netherlands, as well as 3 other constituent countries, kind of like what Wales and Scotland are to the UK. They are Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin, which is actually half of an island shared with the French overseas territory of the same name, but in French. This means that this one island is the only area which the Netherlands technically borders France. These guys hold a high level of autonomy. They can have their own constitutions and currency. Otherwise, the remaining 3 islands are Bonaire, St. Eustatius, and Little Saba, which by the way has the shortest airport runway in the world. These 3 fall under the title of special municipalities and do not belong to any province. They are directly controlled by the Dutch government. However, in 2011, they decided to switch currencies and adopt the US dollar.
Interesting. I wonder why they decided to adapt the adopt the US dollar. Maybe because they get a ton of tourism from America. I'm not sure. I was just recently down in St. Lucia. That's absolutely beautiful. We flew over St. Martin. It looks awesome. But I haven't spent too much time in the Caribbean. But yeah, it looks absolutely gorgeous. But it's strange to me that they decided to adopt the US currency. Interesting. I wonder why that is.
All these islands lie in the subregion known as the Lesser Antilles. Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire are usually referred to as the ABC Islands, lying in the subregion of the Leeward Antilles, whereas St. Eustatius, Saba, and St. Martin, usually called the SSS Islands, are located in the subregion of the Leeward Islands. Keep in mind, at one point, all 6 of these islands were called the Netherland Antilles and operated collectively as a single constituent country with the capital at Willemstad in Curacao. They even competed separately in the Olympics. With the exception of Aruba, who had autonomy in 1986, it wasn't until the early 2000s 2000s when they all voted for their future, and it kind of went like this. Okay guys, you have 4 options for your future. Choose wisely. You can have closer ties to us, remain just as you are in the Netherlands Antilles, autonomy as a constituent country within the Kingdom of the Netherlands, or you can opt for complete independence as a new nation and break away from us.
We vote for autonomy as constituent countries.
Me too. What the?
We want closer ties and we'll settle for special municipality status.
Really, Bonaire? You're one of us, the ABC Island. You're really gonna ditch us like that and leave us with this half-Frenchy magoo?
Yep, deal with it. And that's basically how it went down. So there you go. That's how you make a Netherlands. Waterways dominate the country, though. There's even a town with no
Wow,
roads.
look at that. This just looks like a regular, like, suburban town. And it reminds me of, like, France. You know, like the guys with the boats and the sticks. But, I mean, they got actual motors on these things. He wasn't kidding when he was talking about the water and, like, and how intertwined it is. This is awesome. Man, that's beautiful. These look like regular houses, though. That's pretty dang cool.
Only canals. But how did it end up this way? Somewhere around the 9th century, people were kind of fed up with all the flooding, and they invented these seawalls known as dikes, which surrounded polders, or reclaimed land plots protected by the dikes. To this day, the Netherlands has reclaimed about 1/5 of its total landmass from the sea.
So what would happen if all the dikes were destroyed and all the water just came and flooded everything?
Scientists speculate that the country would go from looking like this to this.
Whoa! Whoa! Check out these 2 images here. All right, so they got these dikes all along the side, all along the edge up here. And apparently it's protecting a lot more landmass than I thought. But look at this. If it was to flood and it was to break that little seawall there, this is how much would be lost. That is crazy. Can you imagine, like, even just living somewhere in this general area? I feel like I'd be constantly afraid, like, the dike would break and it would be flooded at any moment. I mean, I don't know. That is quite the mass of land to be engulfed in water there. If you live in this little area, or have you been to this little area, is that something people worry about? Do you worry about constant flooding and the possibility that you will be swallowed by the ocean? Let me know.
Oh, Amsterdam would be gone.
Yep. Luckily, the Dutch are fantastic engineers and have been taming this dragon for centuries. And speaking of engineering, there are so many notable spots to check out in case you ever visit. So many museums.
Oh my gosh. Look at the inside of this museum. This is one of my favorite things about reacting to these Geography Now videos is just checking out some of, like, you know, like the designs of some of these buildings. The architecture is just wild. Yeah, it's really beautiful. That's such an odd and interesting looking building. I'm not even going to attempt to say what the name is here, but man, that is cool looking. Love the window design on this one as well. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. I feel like I could just react to the museums of the world and just that would be fun.
But the most notable one probably being the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam,
Gorgeous.
the Royal Palace, the Van Gogh Museum, the Anne Frank House, numerous castles like these, numerous star-shaped fortress towns. So
Whoa, what's the deal with the stars?
the most notable one probably being the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, the Royal Palace, the Van Gogh Museum, the
I know
Anne
those,
Frank House,
obviously.
numerous castles like these, numerous.
What's up with the star-shaped thing? Because he showed a couple of them here. It looks like they all have, like, different, like, are those moats? Are they surrounded by water? Maybe they're moats around them or something. But for whatever reason, they're using this star-shaped design. Oh, look, it goes out there, too. Star-shaped fortress town. So it's an entire town that has a fortress around it. That's pretty cool.
Star-shaped fortress towns. So
Yeah, it's
many
water.
Amusement parks like these, the
Oh, you guys got a bunch of music parks, too. Hold
the
on.
Royal Palace, the Van Gogh Museum, the Anne Frank House, numerous castles like these, numerous star-shaped fortress towns. So many.
So you guys got, like, all right, so you got different amusement parks. We've got, like, you know, the Disneylands, the Universal Studios, Epcot Center, all that stuff. Amusement parks are a big deal in America. So it's interesting to see just different styles of amusement parks in different countries. This one looks like it almost has like a Western type of theme to it. This looks kind of like our version of a Disney kind of has like that creepy creepiness to it. Yeah. All right. Pretty dang cool. I just wanted to get a better look at that.
Amusement parks like these, the enclaves and exclaves of Barrel Nassau. We talked about this in the Belgium episode. The world's largest flower
see
garden
that.
at Keukenhof, Austerlitz Pyramid, this
Whoa.
prehistoric burial site, and of course there are somewhere around 1,000 historic windmills left in the country from the 1800s.
No
Mostly
way.
in the Kinderdijk area, a UNESCO heritage site. Keep in mind though, the country has a
Do you know how rare that is to have, you know, that many relics still going and still, I don't know if they're still useful or not, but they're still there from the 1800s. I mean, you just don't get that in America very often because people just cultivate land and build and houses and whatnot, and or even shopping centers or whatnot. So a lot of our history just gets buried with shopping malls, honestly. And to have so many different, like they said, hundreds of these windmills from the 1800s, that's pretty awesome. That leads me to believe that maybe people over in the Netherlands take their history maybe a little bit more serious, or they pay a little bit more respect to it than maybe we do. I don't know. But that's pretty wild that you guys still have so many windmills from the 1800s.
Ton of modern wind turbines that help supply energy to the nation, a topic that will be discussed in Greek philosopher Pytheas visited in the 3rd century BC, and he said about this place, more people have died in the struggle against water than in the struggle against men. The Netherlands is really unlike any other country in Europe because in order for them to even have physical land, a lot of work has to go into it. For one, the country is the lowest country in Europe, elevation-wise. Over a quarter of the land and a fifth of the population lies below sea level. And
No way, dude. I'm just thinking about that graphic about with those seawalls coming down. So lowest land in the country in Europe, and one fifth of the population is right here. Oh man, I don't know. That would freak me out. But you know, they were saying earlier that you guys have some crazy ingenuity over there, and you've been taming the sea for so many years that you pretty much got it down to a science. But wow, dang.
half of the land lies less than a meter above sea level. The lowest point actually being here at Zuidplaspolder, and the highest point of the mainland European part of the country at a small hill called Valseberg, just over 1,000 feet or 322 meters high. However, in the entire kingdom of the Netherlands, the highest point would actually be Mount Scenery, a potentially active volcano on the island of Saba in the Caribbean. Back to mainland Europe though, within this complex system of waterways and canals, the famous Rhine River that goes through all of Europe and the longest in the country actually ends in Rotterdam. The largest body of water would be Lake or Bay Ijsselmeer, contained within the N302 and E22 highways. In order to manage all the flooding in the south though, the Netherlands has undergone one of the largest engineering projects in modern history. The Delta Works is a series of massive elevated levees that close off sea estuaries, preventing flooding. They even have backup levees in case one down the line bursts.
Yeah.
In the north though, the Walden Islands act as kind of like natural barriers against the sea. All this land reclamation has left many of the inland areas exposed to what are labeled as the largest open sand drifts in Europe. Keep in mind,
What's
they
that?
are not deserts, but rather strange, wet, sandy plots in the middle of green shrubbery. A rare natural sight to come across anywhere in the world. So
That is so strange to me. All right, so it's like a giant dune out there, and I would imagine if there's a flowing water underneath there, does like the land kind of move, or does it turn into sinking sand? Does it? I mean, I don't know, but yeah, I guess it's like a giant dune, or what I know is a dune.
it's the largest open sand drifts in Europe.
Yeah, because he's calling it a sand drift, so it's leading me to believe that there's some sort of movement to the land. And I mean, you know, when you go to the beach, like sometimes the sand kind of sinks or moves underneath your feet depending upon how much, whether the tide is coming in or out. So I wonder if there's actual movement to the landmass. And if there is, I mean, this seems like it's a pretty large area. I mean, he's not giving me like a square footage or any, or you know, mile or whatever, but it seems like it's a substantial area. That is interesting.
Keep in mind, they are not deserts, but rather strange, wet, sandy plots in the middle of green shrubbery. A rare natural sight to come across anywhere in the world. So, in a nutshell, the entire country is basically one big river delta.
We should hang out sometime.
Whew, so that's just about it for now. I gotta get my triple shot of espresso break, which means we need a guy who knows a few things.
Besides all the water chaos, the Netherlands is quite a powerful nation considering its size. They rank in the top 20 largest world economies, usually around 17th or 16th place, and they rank somewhere in the top 5 to 10 largest exporters on Earth. In fact, they have the oldest stock exchange in the world, dating back to 1602.
No
Didn't that
way.
lead to like the whole tulip mania thing where people sold a single bulb for the price of like an entire ship?
That was not the stock market, that was just a socio-economic phenomenon, and at its height sold for 10 times the annual wage of a skilled craftsman. Anyway, today, although they produce about 80% of the world's tulips and over half of the world's cut flower exports,
That's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, tulips, okay, that's one thing, but even 80% of the world's tulips come from this one area. I didn't know that. But also half of the flowers from everywhere? That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Hopefully they show us more like fields of flowers. I mean, if you're producing that many flowers for the rest of the world, you probably get some beautiful flower like fields.
Their economy is mostly driven by the service and energy sectors.
Service
After the
and
discovery of a
energy.
natural gas field in 1959, the Dutch became a fuel powerhouse. The Shell company became the largest and most internationally recognized Dutch company in the world. Besides the petroleum industry, though, the Dutch are well known for their
Interesting. Okay, so Shell is Dutch. I didn't know that. I did not know that.
electronics and tech innovation. The company Philips invented the audio tape, which
No
helped
way.
pioneer other formats like videotapes, CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays.
Yeah, the company.
I always thought like Philips was like it was a Japanese thing. I don't know why. I have no idea. But that's pretty wild. Let me take this back here just a little bit. I mean, obviously it doesn't sound Japanese, Philips, but I mean this is pretty wild.
Dutch are well known for their electronics and tech innovation. The company Philips invented the audio tape, which helped pioneer other formats like videotapes, CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays.
Yeah, the company was Dutch, but keep in mind it was invented in Hasselt, Belgium.
Oh, Belgium. We love you, but don't try to take this from us.
Otherwise, the Dutch have made great strides towards environmental protection. It's not uncommon to
Alright.
find animal crossing bridges to allow wildlife to cross over highways.
Awesome. Oh man, I love
Don't try
seeing
to
that.
take this from us.
Otherwise, the Dutch have made great strides towards environmental protection. It's not uncommon to find animal crossing
Look at this. This is the way to do it, all right? They're doing it right here. This is the way to do it. If we're going to have these highways, if we're going to have these major roadways for everywhere, well, we got to do something for the animals, you know? And this is awesome. This is just thinking outside the box, and I absolutely love it. That is so cool. They got their own little crossing up there. Sounds like they are very environmentally conscious over there, which I do appreciate.
bridges to allow wildlife to cross over highways. Over 70 mammal species exist here, such as hares, hedgehogs, stoats, and deer. In addition, according to their government website, they produce over 65 billion euros in vegetable, fruit, flour, meat, and dairy products. Speaking
Nice.
of which, the modern orange-colored carrot was originally bred orange here in the Netherlands to specifically honor the king. Since then, orange carrots are now kind of an international staple. And speaking of which, food! Some top notable
Weird. Okay, so carrots were a different color than somewhere in the Netherlands. They just decided to start making them orange, and now they're just orange everywhere. I don't know. That's interesting. I never heard that before. Let's learn about some of the food here. What are you guys eating over there in the Netherlands?
dishes you guys, the Dutch geography peeps, suggested we mentioned include things like various types of stamppot, Dutch pancakes with powdered sugar, apple tarts, bitterballen, split pea soup, rookworst, stroopwafels. So many potato dishes, brined herring and smoked eel. Gin was invented here. Sorry,
Nice.
Brits. For breakfast, chocolate sprinkles on toast is common. And
What? That's what you're eating for that for breakfast? Chocolate sprinkles on toast. And he said it's common. Have you ever had chocolate sprinkles on toast for breakfast? I mean, maybe it sounds strange to me, but hey, you know, if I pull out a box of Lucky Charms, I guess it's kind of the same thing. You know, it's just like candy treats in breakfast form. But interesting.
the pride and joy of the nation, Gouda cheese. Yep, that's how you pronounce it, guys. Oh,
Gouda?
and keep in mind, they used to be the largest beer exporters in the world, Heineken being their top brand until Mexico beat them in 2010.
Oh, wow. Cool.
It's also important to note that you will probably find lots of Indonesian and Surinamese dishes like satay or salted cod buns. A little cultural cue that hints towards the colonial past, which brings us to...
All right, so the food's not too weird. It seems like you got a lot of the same stuff we have over here in America. Sometimes I'm just absolutely surprised by like some of the dishes here that I react to. Salted eel, some of like the fish sandwiches and whatnot. Like it's pretty much similar to what we have over here. We just use cod, but it looks like you're doing a lot of like waffle style dishes. You're doing a lot of sausages and whatnot. We do a lot of that too. So there are some similarities there. I'm surprised that there wasn't a whole lot more vegetable dishes on there. You know, since you guys grow so many vegetables over there. I don't know. Let's look up what is it? Demographics is the next thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Noah. Follow him on Instagram.
Yep.
Okay, that just happened. Now, in Europe, you have all different types of people that operate with all different customs and ideologies. Here, they have two sayings that kind of sum up how a lot of their country operates. Meten is weten, and gezelligheid kent geen tijd. How is that, Dutchies? Terrible? Good? Well, you're gonna get what I give. Anyway, the country has about 17.5 million people and is the most densely populated nation in Europe. About 77% of the population identifies as Dutch, to whatever extent that may mean, whereas 10% are other Europeans, and the remainder are made up of other people groups, mostly Turks, Indonesians, as well as the Surinamese, and surprisingly, even some Americans. They use the euro as their currency, they use the type C and F plug outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road. Now, we all know that Dutch is the official language of the Netherlands. However, if you speak English, you should have no problem at all visiting. Netherlands has the highest proficiency in English out of any non-English official country in the world. Somewhere around 9 out of 10 Dutch people claim they can comfortably speak English, and around 94% of the country is in some way bilingual. Geography Anna told me a joke. Many times Dutch kids will ask their parents,
Hey, Mom,
Yes, honey.
why do we have to learn English, but the British don't have to learn Dutch?
Because our ancestors decided it would be a great idea to trade New York for Suriname and one small island in Indonesia.
It's important to note, though, that there are 2 other regional languages accepted in Dutch society. They are Frisian, spoken in the northern Friesland region, and the other being Papiamento, a Dutch Creole spoken in the ABC Islands. When it's already kind of well known that the Dutch are the tallest people on average in the world, men averaging around 6'1" and women around 5'7". And once again, here's 2016 Vincent explain.
Yeah, so I've heard that, and in one of the bands that I'm really into, a band called Nightwish, the lead singer, this gal named Floor, she's a phenomenal vocalist. If you haven't checked them out, you got to check out Nightwish. But she's incredibly tall. She looks very stoic, and people keep telling me, yeah, the Dutch, the people over there, they're just like, they're bred differently. Like, they're just a little bit bigger. I don't mean bigger like heavier. I mean like bigger, like they're taller. And what they were saying right here is they're some of the tallest people in the world, so that makes a lot of sense. Pretty awesome.
Explaining.
Latest studies have shown that natural selection has been the biggest reason. Being tall should equal to being more athletic, successful, and healthy. Many educated men start families after their studies. Fast forward a couple of years, with length being very heritable, and the result is a nation of giants. Yeah, we're outbreeding short people.
Religion in the Netherlands is interesting because historically they used to be predominantly Christian, mostly Protestant, but today about half the population identifies as unaffiliated, which depending on who you ask could be anything from the largest unaffiliated group, agnostics, at about 34%, to the growing number of atheists at around 28%, which is kind of like a technical term for spiritual but not religious. Otherwise, Islam at about 5% of the population is mostly practiced by Turkish and Indonesian communities. Christianity, although not practiced regularly by most of the people, still plays a heavy cultural role in the Netherlands. Holidays like Christmas, Easter, Pentecost, and Ascension are still celebrated by everyone in a Dutch manner. At one point, they were a vast empire.
What do they mean by that? What do they celebrate Passover, Easter, and Christmas in a Dutch manner? What does that mean? What is the Dutch manner of celebrating those holidays? That's what I want to know. If you know, let me know. It's interesting to see that they still follow these holidays, and it seems like they're not very religious. It seems like they're mostly agnostic, as to opposed to where I'm from. Religion is just kind of you're kind of, it's bad in India. You know, it's everywhere. You know, it's a big part of life over here in America. But it seems like you guys are a little bit more relaxed about it. It seems like you're spiritual, but you're maybe not tied down to one religion. I don't know. At least that's what I'm getting off of these statistics. But I want to know what the Dutch way of celebrating those holidays means. What is that? Do you guys celebrate Christmas in a different way? I mean, is Easter a different thing to you guys? You know, or is I don't know. Like here in America, Easter, you go to church, you come back, you have some ham. That's kind of our thing. Christmas, presents, family, food, you know, the basics. Probably similar, but he made it seem like the Dutch way was a little bit different. So I'd be interested to know what the Dutch way is.
That spanned across every inhabited continent. Australia was at one point called New Holland, New Zealand, named after the Zeeland province, Tasmania, named after this Dutch guy, New York was once called New Amsterdam, and so on. Otherwise, what is the Dutch way of doing things? Many of you guys, the Dutch geography peeps, have told me there's a Dutch saying, act normal, which is ironic considering that they are almost anything but normal. And here's random Hannah to explain culture stuff.
Their slogan is act normal. Oh my God. That's like what I tell myself every day before I leave the house. Like, all right, you're going to be normal. Everything's going to be fine.
Historically, the Dutch have always kind of had a counter-traditional mindset that shaped the way they developed as a nation. For one, they are one of the few remaining monarchies left in the world, technically a unitary parliamentary constitutional monarchy that limits the royal powers. And the people generally like their king. He even has a holiday to himself, and the entire country wears the national color of orange. Of course, the country is known for being a frontrunner in passing what many in the world see as controversial laws. They were the first country to legalize same-sex marriage. They have regulated legal prostitution, euthanasia, and they have a policy of tolerance towards recreational.
Ooh. All right. So, gay marriage, awesome. Prostitution, I'm not sure how I feel about that one. I mean, I feel like maybe it should be illegal. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. There's moral conundrums with it all, but I get it. I know that Amsterdam, like back in the day, like everybody would go over there to like, you know, try and get high legally. Now weed is predominantly legal almost everywhere here in America too. But that was like a big tourism thing. I remember like when I was in high school, I had some friends that were going to Amsterdam basically just to get high. So, yeah, pretty wild. But what else they say? Oh, euthanasia. That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. I don't know where I stand on that, and I'd be interested to see what you guys think and where you guys stand on euthanasia as well. Obviously, you guys do it. You know, I mean, there's two sides to that argument. You know, it's like, should we be killing anybody? But I mean, if they're at the end of their life or they're in pain, or they just don't want to be here anymore, I feel like it might be the most humane thing to do, but it just doesn't sit right with my stomach. I don't know. Let me know how you feel about euthanasia, or if it's something you've ever encountered, or if you've ever had anybody you've known that has decided to go through with euthanasia. I'd be very interested to hear from you. So please let me know. But yeah, weed was obviously a big thing for a while there, for tourism for some of my friends.
Soft drugs like marijuana. People 18 years or older are allowed up to 5 grams on them, otherwise it's a misdemeanor. They are world renowned for excelling in field hockey, speed skating, and volleyball teams. Sailing is of course one of their longest pastimes. They even have a huge festival once every 5 years called the Sailed Amsterdam Festival. For some reason, it's common for people to give birth in their own homes as opposed to a hospital.
What?
About 1/3 of all babies are born this way.
What? 1/3 of all babies are born at home and not in a hospital? That lady looked like she was just in a tub. That's crazy. That is crazy to me. I mean, I guess that's how we used to do it. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know if my wife was pregnant, if I'd want her to do that. I guess this is more of a natural way. You know, you don't have the outside, stranger, a doctor or a nurse. You in a building, people walking by. You don't have like those anxieties. But I mean, if something goes wrong, it's kind of nice to have a doctor or a nurse right there to be able to do whatever they need to do. But I mean, hey, I don't know. But 1/3 you got? Well, that's crazy. Those numbers are crazy to me.
What about those clog things?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Well, in the past, they actually served a very useful purpose. They were worn by farmers, fishermen, and artisans in the past to protect their feet from nails, fish hooks, and other sharp objects.
Oh.
Today, they are mostly sold as souvenirs, and very few people actually wear them, but they're pretty cool.
Oh, and hey, Anna, what's up with all those spinny windmill thingy-mabobbers?
Yes, the iconic symbol of the Netherlands. Well, many of these historic windmills were actually used to pump out excess water to reclaim the land that they now use for farming, all before electricity. And as for music,
Actually, I got this one. Barb said I could have my own segment in the show now instead of just being a one-liner guy.
Yeah, that's right. Keith has been upgraded, so yeah.
well, enjoy it.
Well, that just happened. Again, I guess everybody has superpowers now.
Historically speaking, the Dutch contributed much to the Baroque period at the end of the Renaissance, with numerous composers, organ players, and vocalists rooted in Christianity. Traditional clog dancing was also a cool way to add percussion to folk music in rural areas. Today, however, even though there are many genres the Dutch enjoy, electronic music reigns supreme. Most of the best well-known DJs in the EDM scene across the world are from the Netherlands. And the Amsterdam Dance Event, ADE, is the world's top and largest electronic music conference. So if you come out here, get ready to get shocked with some musical electricity.
Thank you, Keith. And speaking of the development of the Netherlands over time, let's talk about history in the quickest way I can put it. Hamburg and Bronze Age cultures, Iron Age with Celt and Germanic groups, Gallic Wars, the Romans come in, Frankish kingdoms, Charlemagne, blah, blah, blah. Friesland once had a Viking ruler, Lotharingia, Holy Roman Empire, confusing Burgundian and Spanish Habsburg and city-states, the Spanish takeover, Dutch revolt, 80 years of war against Spain, this dude is a hero, Golden Age and stock market, Dutch East India Company, exploring years, Dutch Empire, Napoleon drama, Belgium breaks away, Luxembourg breaks away, World War I, relatively neutral, World War II, attacked by Germans, not neutral, decolonialism after the war, mining golden age, founding co-members of the European Coal and Steel Community, which would later become the EU, government encourages over 500,000 people to move out, Euro adopted, and here we are today. Some notable people you guys, the Dutch geography people suggest we mention, might include people like William of Orange, the first king, Michael de Ruyter, possibly the most famous painters, Vincent van Gogh and Rembrandt, Antony van Leeuwenhoek, Willem Barents, Abel Tasman, Anne Frank, Max Verstappen, Glennis Grace, Dick Bruna, these soccer players, these skaters, and of course the royal family. And of course there's so many others I could have mentioned. Of course I butchered all the pronunciations, but we're really running out of time and we gotta finish this marathon. So without further ado, let's see who the Netherlands hangs out with. Now, Now, there's a reason why it's called going Dutch when paying for a meal. The Netherlands likes to share. Systematic and mathematically equivalent to what is owed to each based on the merit they've earned. First of all, pretty much all the former colonies have some kind of amicable relation to the Netherlands. The Afrikaans language in South Africa is basically just an Africanized version of Dutch. Tons of Surinamese and Indonesians have been migrating to the Netherlands for decades. Otherwise, the USA and Canada are very close friends as well. During World War II, the royal family actually took refuge in Canada, and Canada actually quickly changed the law in which the hospital was temporarily considered extraterritorial so that the princess could be born Dutch. To this day, the Netherlands...
That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Take that back here a little bit.
War II, the royal family actually took refuge in Canada, and Canada actually quickly changed the law in which the hospital was temporarily considered extraterritorial so that the princess could be born Dutch. To this day, the Netherlands sends tons of flowers every year in gratitude.
That's
For the
awesome.
US, the two go way back all the way to New Amsterdam before it was New York. The Dutch have immigrated to the US for centuries. 5 American presidents have been of Dutch descent. They are each other's third largest direct foreign investors. They are both charter members of NATO since 1949, and overall, in most global affairs, the two usually work together as close allies. With Germany, it's like a funny love-hate relationship. Like the two share so much historically, both being under the same influences like the Western Roman Empire, the Franks, and even their first king, William of Orange, belonged to a German royal house. Then again, World War II was kind of like a jerk move, and the Dutch never really forgot about it. But nonetheless, they've moved on, and today things are fine. Germany is their largest trading partner, both in imports and exports. Many Germans and Dutch cross over and visit, study, live, and have families with each other's countries. When it comes to their best friend, however, almost every single Dutch person I have talked to has said their little brother they love picking fun on and calling stupid, Belgium. Or at least specifically the northern Flanders region of Belgium where the Dutch speakers are. And many see the Flanders region as just an extension of the Dutch realm. The royal families love each other. King William Alexander even bestowed the Knight Grand Cross to King Philip and his wife. Flemish and Dutch people have been intermarrying and cooperating side by side since the beginning. And even after Belgium's independence, they've still clung on as the only 2 Dutch official speaking nations in Europe. And even then, Belgium is only half Dutch speaking, so they really can't afford to sever ties. In conclusion, the lowest nation in Europe with the tallest people on Earth, and with centuries of discovery, invention, innovation, and tradition, it's no wonder why the Dutch say they keep their heads above water. Stay tuned, New Zealand is coming up next.
Interesting. So yeah, a couple things I did not know. I did not know about the elevation there, how low you guys were to the sea level. That would definitely kind of freak me out, being so dependent upon levees and dikes and things like that. But apparently you guys have mastered it. You've been doing it for many, many years, so it's probably not an issue. But I'm assuming from time to time you guys get a bad storm or something and you get some crazy flooding. Architecture looks absolutely beautiful out there. The land, the scenery, everything looks beautiful. Everything is fairly flat for the most part, it looked like. I was interested about with the drifting kind of land, what looked like a sand dune to me. A huge chunk of land. I wonder if that moves around a little bit or becomes like quicksand or something. I would imagine there's a good amount of water underneath that, and it probably shifts the shape of the land. As far as food goes, you know, everything seemed pretty similar. It seemed pretty similar to things that I enjoy over here: sausages, breakfast food. The sprinkles on toast was a little different, but I could see how that'd be pretty good. But I guess the question I have for that one is do you put butter on the toast and then sprinkles on top, or is it just dry toast and then sprinkles and you eat it like that? I'm assuming you probably need something to stick to the toast. Maybe if you put peanut butter on the toast and then sprinkles, or jimmies, or whatever you call them. I think we call them jimmies. Everyone else calls them sprinkles. That's another difference. Maybe peanut butter and then sprinkles. That'd be pretty good. Also, the fact that you guys like you know, your leaders, the king and all that stuff, they have their own special holiday. Here in America, things are a little bit more divided politically. Depending upon where you are, where you live in the country and whatnot, people are pretty extreme about their beliefs, and you either love or hate or are kind of indifferent towards your leaders. Seems like you guys are pretty cool with your leaders and your royal family or whatever you call them over there, because you have your own holiday and everyone seems to be cool with it. I like the national color, the orange. Orange is one of my favorite colors. It's neat. I didn't know that you guys were known as the tallest people in the world. That's so strange that you guys, you know, elevation-wise, you're the lowest, but you're some of the tallest people out there. And it makes a lot of sense from what I've seen from, you know, a Nightwish reaction I've done from Floor and how tall she is. I believe she's Dutch. What else here? What else was cool about this video? There's a lot of stuff. Geography now is just fantastic. I've been on this series where I do American reacts to all sorts of different places, and I absolutely love it. I started doing it during the quarantine because I had wanderlust and I want to learn more, and now I'm just kind of doing it for everywhere, and it's been a blast. If you enjoyed your time with me today, please consider liking and subscribing. I do this sort of thing all the time, and I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. All right, guys, have a great night. I'll catch you in the next video.